Hello, Mark House. Monsieur here, head of Mark House. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I hope you're all getting on with work and making sure you're up to date with that. Remember, if you've got any issues, you need to get in contact with one of your teachers, otherwise nothing's going to change. Suitably, our theme of the week is trust this week. Having faith in yourselves and those around you, which I think more than ever really applies. Having faith in yourself and your ability to get on with stuff and self-motivate, your trust in the people around you, your loved ones, and taking care of each other, in your teachers in terms of setting work and helping you to learn during this time of not being in school, physically anyway. Trust in the government and the NHS, and there's so many things that demand our trust right now that I know sometimes you can get stuck and you can get feeling that there's, how is this supposed to progress? What is the way out of this? And with that, with this week's assembly, I'm hoping that we get to sort of build that faith up a bit and reinitialize that trust in yourself as well as the people around. So to start off, I've got a little bit of a game. You may know of optical illusions. They're one of my favourite pastimes, and you see them quite frequently in life, like double takes that I just will wait until you see it. First of all, thinking about what we see, trusting in what we see. So here, if you haven't figured out already, we've got some pictures of some celebrities and their children, and you can see how similar they look. And it's a double take. Is it the same person? Some look so much more alike than others. And you may have found this yourselves, that you may have family members or people commenting about how much you look similar to a sibling or a parent or a grandparent or an auntie or uncle. Sometimes you might even have people in your life who you're not related to that you look very similar to. I know this has happened to me before. And it's that idea of, oh, well, if we look similar, does that mean that we come from the same place? Why do we look similar? And you can think about that with our personalities as well. What makes us similar people? What makes us different? What is the big difference between how I react to something and to how you react to something? And thinking about what makes our personalities what they are. Thinking about as well how we deal with situations, and it makes us who we are as people. So when we trust in ourselves and maybe just doubt ourselves a little bit, optical illusions, what is it that you see? And what's that instinctual look? That first impression. So I know with the left one, this has been around for years and years. Is it two people or is it a candlestick? The one in the middle, is it two musicians or is it an elderly couple who are looking at each other? The one on the right, is it just a bunch of dots and pixels? Or is it actually a famous cartoon character in the middle? On the left, actually, it's a good 100 years old as far as I'm aware. Is it a rabbit or a duck? The one in the middle, more recently, is the dress blue or black, or is it yellow and gold? I know from my perception, it looks blue and black. But all these pictures test your ability to perceive the world around you, and you see it one way, and it takes a different way of thinking to see it in another way. There's, for example, a famous, it's a video or a GIF, I guess, where you've got a tube train going through the underground and it just goes round and round. It's on a loop, and if you look at it one way, it looks like the train's going forward and away from you, and if you look at it another way, it looks like trains coming towards you. And it's, how do you look at these situations, and how you look at them often dictates how you react to something. And thinking about now, this is quite relevant in terms of this week's gospel and how we apply that to our current lives. So the gospel this week taken from John. We have this recurring theme of, how do we install our trust into someone? This gospel itself focuses on the fact that Jesus is imminently leaving his disciples, and they're going to have to, continue the faith of the Lord and of Jesus without Jesus with them. up until now, they've essentially been following Jesus and seeing him demonstrate faith to the people he comes across. And through a lot of this gospel, his disciples are essentially questioning not their faith in Jesus, but their own ability to be able to carry on without him, which, you know, is really quite similar to what we've got now. As teachers, we have to put our faith in you, that you're able to work without us. And I think to an extent, a lot of you are probably thinking, well, how am I supposed to do this work without my teacher? I'm not going to bother. And how do we keep that faith in ourselves and our own abilities? So through this gospel, the main quote that we follow through this is, "Do not let your hearts be troubled," which is easier said than done, I know. So if we're trusting in God still, I love this part. It's about halfway down when you've got Thomas and Philip who are questioning Jesus. And I love it purely because I feel like I've had similar conversations with students over the last few weeks. So you've got Thomas says, "Lord, we do not know where you are going, so how can we know the way?" And then Jesus replies, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. If you know me, you know my Father too. From this moment you know him and have seen him." And then Philip says, "Lord, let us see the Father, and then we shall be satisfied." Which I always love, because it's that, you know, prove to me it exists and then I'll be fine. And that's the whole part of faith, isn't it? It's about believing and trusting in something, even though there's no guarantees. It's how much do you trust that person? And then Jesus replies, "Have I been with you all this time, Philip? And you still do not know me? To have seen me is to have seen the Father. So how can you say, 'Let us see the Father'?" Which is true when you think about it. All the things that he would have witnessed Jesus doing, and then to still question him about the Father. "Do you not believe that I am the Father and the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak as from myself. It is the Father living in me who is doing this work. You must believe me when I say that I am the Father and the Father is in me. Believe it on the evidence of this work, if for no other reason. I tell you most solemnly, whoever believes in me will perform the same works as I do myself. He will perform even greater works, because I am God the Father." And that's the biggest thing to remember, isn't it? You know, faith in ourselves is also faith in the Lord and our trust in him. Trust that he takes care of us, that he loves us, that he guides us, even if we don't see it. Some of us might do. It's a beautiful thing. But for those of us who are scared and feel alone, it's just taking that moment to remember to yourself, I'm not alone, he is with me. So, thinking about, and before we lead into our prayer, just reflecting on the world around us, it must be really hard for some of us at the moment to have faith in everything that's going on, and it's quite scary. And I know I've had lots of you ask me, when are we coming back to school? Is this still happening? And the truth is, I don't know. But what I do know is that your whole school is here for you if you need it. Just it's that idea of having faith and reaching out, that if you have something that you need, we're still here. We're just not physically in front of you. So leading into our prayer, we're going to do the sign of the cross first, as always. Here we go. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us pray to Christ, the author of life. God raised him from the dead, and he himself will raise us to life by his own power. Help us this week for our hearts not to be troubled, and to trust in you. You are the way, the truth, and the life. Christ, you are the light that drives out the darkness and draws men to holiness. Let us make this day our living hymn of praise. Amen. Saint Joseph, pray for us. Saint Mark, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Right. Well, I hope that's made you feel a bit better. and get a bit more focused in terms of faith and trust. I know one of the things that we're doing is having faith in you in terms of completing work. I know I've had a lot of students do competitions and hand me work, and it's been amazing. So with that, the house competitions are still going on, same as the ultimate competition in terms of ePraise winner. So the main competitions at the moment, we've got geography. I don't know if you've seen the geography Instagram. It's looking pretty cool. They do some very frequent quizzes as well. I think it's every Tuesday and Thursday they do quizzes. DT, they've got an Instagram page as well, and they have a lot of different competitions going on, or different tasks. And this time they've got a house sign competition. Music, we've got a 30-day music challenge. A lot of you have seen it on Doddle. But I also put it in a newsletter a couple of weeks ago. So the music day challenge, or the 30-day challenge even, is where you have to make a list of music to suit themes for 30 days. And the best lists are going to get up to 25 points from me. Heads of years are doing the weekly challenges, so the well-being challenges and extra tasks. Maths, Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 3, we've got those in the newsletter. There's an RE quiz that's coming up, and then all departments, that's all subjects, are being asked to give points for outstanding work or contribution. So that means essentially not just clicking submit on Doddle, it means actually making sure your work is saved, making sure it's nice and neat and brilliantly done, and then emailing it to your teacher, whether that's through a photo or through the actual work or a screenshot. You might be using Teams as well, but that actually getting that physical evidence to your teacher is what's going to give you the ePraise points. Just clicking submit on Doddle is not going to do that. So in terms of house points, in March, so this is just before we went on lockdown, and you can see that yes, we're in last place still. It's been like that for a couple of half terms now. We are still gaining points, which is important. And if we look into, we're still in sixth, but we've climbed. Now, what I've decided to do is compare the points gained. You can see that Jerome have gained just under 7,000 points. Cecilia and Mark have essentially gained the same amount of points, and Teresa and Peter are the ones that are really pushing it right now, with Teresa getting over 7,000 points in those last few months, and Peter House getting 8,000 points, nearly 9,000 points. So I'm going to be honest, as a teacher, I've seen more work from the other houses than I have Mark House. So this point gain actually makes a lot of sense to me. The only way this is going to change is if we actually make that conscious effort to put the faith back in our teachers and to give that work in. Not just to click submit and Doddle, but to actually take a picture of that work or upload it and email it to the teachers. That's the only way to gain it. You know, we don't know when we're going to be back in school. We don't know this. So you have to remember that we're not in school, but school is still there and school is still running. And there's still expectations for you to make that effort into your work. It's not just a ticking a box to get through the day. And with that, I want to just say, I hope you all stay safe and take care of yourselves. And remember, these few months aren't a holiday. It isn't an excuse to just sit around and wait. It's a prime time for you to really put yourself in action. How are you going to sort out your own life? This is what this time is. What are you doing with your time? It's on you. So with that, I hope you all stay well. If you need anything, get in contact with us and take care of yourselves. Bye.